as Senator Barack Obama walks by greeting. I'm doing well, sir. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
How are you feeling today?
Feeling really good.
We're near the epicenter of the earthquake here in Port-au-Prince. Children injured in the earthquake are set up in a clinic. Joshua Newcomb's parents say he and the person suspected of shooting Joshua Orr, were friends at one time. Joshua Orr was about a quarter-mile away, right through those trees. They say they're not looking for a handout, they're just looking for a job. It's more than 2 miles of road has to be dug up more than 20 feet deep for the piping. Welcome to Afghanistan. Bullet-ridden walls and buildings cover most of Kabul, Afghanistan. Several search crews were called to the scene early this morning. Yeah, that's right, Lauren. I can tell you it's a somber day for many of the employees here at Holiday World and Splash and Safari. Be very careful. Allow for that extra time to get to where you're going this morning. We are live in Fort Branch, where the rekindled fire at the old MG Meats packing plant has the town on a voluntary evacuation. There it is. Doesn't look that great, but it's energy and it's protein and gives you strength. Carlos Mencia's with me. Hey, man, what are you doing in the desert? Miss America 2009. Wow, how does that feel? There are still many sticking points that need to be hammered out before the vote, including taxpayer-funded abortion. Here to talk about the bill is 8th District Congressman Brad Ellsworth. Welcome, Congressman. Ouch. Government officials say a bull rammed his horns into the groin of a British tourist. Ouch. Yeah, just one of 11 people injured at the famous festival. Participants over the age of 50 jumped out of an airplane to awaiting martinis on land. The skydiving event was organized by a group called Aging But Dangerous. The idea is to get women to challenge themselves and not slow down as they get older. Look like dirty martinis, too.
Yeah, good for them.
So they're not going to stay home and make cookies. No, they're jumping out of airplanes. Evansville police arrest a man for attempted murder after they say he stabbed another man for talking to his ex-girlfriend. Jacory Coates is charged with attempted murder and aggravated battery with a knife on Henry Newton. According to police reports, Newton was talking to Coates' ex-girlfriend, Lindsay Breeding, when Coates ran up and stabbed Newton in the chest. The incident happened near Lucas Apartments on Baker Avenue. Breeding told police that Coates is jealous of other males she talks with. Newton lost a lot of blood after the stabbing and was given a blood transfusion at Deaconess Hospital. Indiana State Police arrested Gibson County couple for dealing meth in front of their children. Terry and Alpha Goodwin are charged with dealing methamphetamine near a school and 3 counts of child neglect. Troopers say Terry was found hiding underneath his daughter's crib when they entered the home at 520 East Emerson Street in Princeton. The Goodwins' 3 daughters were at the home during their parents' arrest. Gibson County Division of Family and Children took custody of all 3 girls. Attorneys in the Jeffrey Weishaupt case have asked for a change of venue. They say they want the trial to be held in a different county due to the widespread coverage of the case. Weishaupt is the Evansville man accused of lighting his house on fire back in mid-April when his girlfriend's children were inside. That fire killed Lisa Lynch's 2 kids, Alyssa and Caleb. Vanderbilt County Prosecutor Stan Lefkoe plans to seek the death penalty if Weishaupt is convicted. The man accused of killing a 16-year-old Mount Vernon girl was in court this morning. Officials say a love triangle may have caused Joshua Fairley to murder Haley Green. On June 24th, officers found the 2 with gunshot wounds to their heads at a home on the 2100 block of West Virginia. Detectives say Green suspected Fairley was in a relationship with another woman and busted a window to get into his home. There was a struggle and shots were fired. Medical officials say it's possible Fairley may not remember what happened. Getting into Port-au-Prince was hectic. We drove to the heart of the capital, where it's estimated that more than 200,000 people died in the quake. We're near the epicenter of the earthquake here in Port-au-Prince, and this is really the central area where medical aid is being delivered to the people that were hurt. This is also the area where we were able to donate some of the medical supplies that people across the tri-state gave to Bosco. Bosco team members Matt Benson and Tommy Files works for an air ambulance service. They've seen plenty of trauma on those runs, but they say they weren't prepared for what they found at Hades Hospital.
Pretty amazing the amount of people in here and the conditions compared to what we're used to.
This is definitely the epicenter for injury. It's definitely a place where there's lots of need for our type of work.
Volunteers set up triage tents. Medical waste was piled up in corners. Flies infested many of the patient's wounds. Medical staff fought back tears in down times before moving on to the next victim. Doctors at the hospital say they are desperate for X-ray film.
We really need that because there are a lot of open fractures and closed fractures, and we need to define a conduct with that, and we have a very limited amount of films. So if you can get that, no matter the time, we will appreciate that.
Outside the guarded hospital were tent cities made up of refugees waiting to get treatment. During our trip back to the orphanage, we ran into what seemed to be a riot.
I just seen two people laying there lifeless, basically, so I checked for a pulse in one of them and confirmed that there was no pulse. Immediately went to the next one and he was nearly pulseless.
The team determined the situation was too dangerous to stay, so we left. When I returned with two locals who wanted to rescue a wounded man, the situation was still intense.
He dead. My brother is dead.
The Bosco team does whatever it can to bandage up the man in a makeshift clinic at the orphanage. Team members admit they'd like to do more, but what they are doing is better than nothing. They say they hope their story will encourage others to help the people living in a devastated country in a time of great need. In Haiti, Jason Claspell, Fox 7 News.
You go from disbelief to shock to horror.
Michelle and John Johnson are the parents of Joshua Newcomb. Law enforcement say 5 young men forced their way into Newcomb's home in East Davis County. They had a gun, baseball bats, and a claw hammer. Newcomb went into the bedroom, and that's when one of the men shot through the door, striking Newcomb in the throat and killing him. Authorities say guns, money, and drugs were all a part of this robbery gone bad.
Josh has 3 hunting rifles. He had less than $20, and what they did find in drugs was marijuana and probably a tablespoonful. So that's what they came and killed him for.
Joshua Newcomb's parents say he and the person suspected of shooting Joshua Orr, were friends at one time. And Joshua Orr was about a quarter-mile away, right through those trees.
I came across a photo of my son Josh and Josh Orr together, and it looked like they were friends, and it kind of shocked me.
The Johnsons say it was a senseless murder that took their son away from them and took a father away from 2 small children.
He was creative, he was brilliant, he was a pain in the rear end, he was a wild child. But I loved him every second of his meanness and every little thing he got in trouble for. I still loved him and I miss him.
I'd rather see him sit in prison behind bars and rot and have to think every day like me and her's going to have to and his sister about what they've done over on Mickey Mouse $20.
2 of the men accused in the murder are 18-year-olds Joshua Orr and Dakota Galloway. The other 3 men are 17 years old and are being held as juveniles. The Johnsons say they hope justice is served, but for now, they're concentrating on burying their son. In Owensboro, Jason Claspell, Fox 7 News.
As a teacher, you have a passion for education wherever it leads you.
Passion led Susie Masterson into the heart of Afghanistan. Normally, you'll find Susie at Evansville Christian School where she's the principal, but this day, she's in a war zone.
I think that educating the children is a key to changing this country, to bringing them hope.
Susie is able to use her experience as a teacher to shape the curriculum at the school Uncharted started in Kabul. Donations from Evansville residents help fund the school. More than 400 students are enrolled for English and computer classes, and girls have to sit in the back of the class, but the fact that boys and girls are in the same building speaks volumes.
Under Taliban, girls were not allowed to attend school, and even boys, their education was mainly in the study of Islam.
I followed Susie as she looked for schools that would serve as a good example of what Uncharted is trying to set up in Afghanistan. The first stop was the International School of Kabul. Heavily guarded, the school is for children of the country's wealthy, including U.S. officials and contractors. The school opened in September of 2005. Classes are in English, and although very Western in appearance, signs "We're still in Afghanistan" were always nearby.
It excited me to know there was a model for good teacher training in this area, and what I want to do with the school I work in Kabul is connect my teachers to that good model, to provide them some new alternatives, some new techniques for teaching.
Susie is not alone in her desire to see more Afghan children, especially girls, educated.
We're one of the first to come in to serve the women.
Doris Aldrich is the founder of Women to the World, an organization committed to improving the lives of women and children in developing countries.
They want to go on to the university or become teachers or work professionally and provide for their families.
Last year, terrorists burned down 187 schools and killed 85 students and teachers across Afghanistan. And still, women are determined to go to school, and their numbers are skyrocketing.
They're hungry to learn. This hunger is something we've never seen before.
A hunger that can be seen by the number of girls coming and going from government schools in black clothes and white scarves. But some government schools aren't as nice as Evansville's uncharted or private schools.
You see many tent schools, you see many outside schools, children sitting out in the weather. Yes, we did see children sitting in mud. They have no pencils, no books, no supplies whatsoever, poor teaching methods, even the English language. Sometimes, as it is taught, is not taught in the best way. But the fact is that progress is being made there.
Progress, like the newly built Shaheed School. Jointly built by the United States and Afghanistan, the school already has overflow problems. Tent classes set up outside provided a less than ideal learning situation. But still, hundreds of students travel miles just to be here. Going to school is only half the battle. Getting the necessary supplies into the hands of the children is another major issue, and that is part of the reason why Susie came to Afghanistan, and you might be surprised where these items came from.
I was just so glad that I could bring these supplies from my students at my school to these students, and it's gratifying to a teacher's heart to see that enthusiasm for learning.
Students at Shaheed rushed to get items that Evansville Christian School students spent months gathering. Supplies Americans take for granted, but items Susie's making sure are changing lives halfway around the world. In Afghanistan, Jason Claspell, Fox 7 News. 421-7287. Be the first caller, and you get your pair of free tickets to the Ultimate Elvis Tour concert tonight. I'm going to hand these to you. Okay, man. And this is a little Elvis. I'm going to do my thing. Stop, God Almighty, let me tell you the news. My head's been wet with the midnight dews. I've been down on a bending knee, talking to the man from Galilee. My God spoke, and he spoke so sweet. I thought I heard the shuffle of angels' feet. He put a one hand upon my head, and great God Almighty, let me tell you what he said.
Note the lovely feet work Mr. Claspell has today. Shoulders down, sir. Oh.
Okay, this is a little unnerving. We've got bats flying everywhere.
It's not nerve-wracking for me. I've done it for years.
It's just easier to work the bees, but when you first start, I would recommend the gloves.
Now, Paul, do you ever get in a suit and you say, you start going to slow-mo, and you say, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Do you ever just like walk around and do that?
There has been a few times when I got in that suit and forget to fasten this little piece of Velcro.
Yeah.
Guys, pack it up.
Oh, cheap shot there on you. They don't scare me, Painbow. You don't scare me. There you go. If I stay in front of them, they can't catch me, right? So I'll go as fast as I can. Oh! Hey, that was dirty. I almost bit it. Welcome back to AM Evansville. I'm Jason Claspell, live out at Kitchen Affairs, one of my most favorite places to be, with Shelley. Good morning, Shelley.
Good morning.
All right, so we've got two things going on. First is dessert.
Yeah, look what's happening.
Boy, that thickened up quick.
That thickened
All right, Matt, thanks for that. We're live at Skin Illusions Tattoo in Boonville. Robert Hepner, better known as Tattoo Bob, across the industry. Bob, what are we doing here?
Well, we're going to put a little corporate logo on you, and I think we got it. There you go.
Right. Depending on how you look at it, it's 7 for Fox 7 or This way, it's L for Andy Overton calls it L for loser. So yeah, look at this. This is your lederhosens from the younger
look like
days.
one of the old crowd balls around there.
What? Well, yeah, I like the outfit. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it looks good.
Yeah, I even got the shoes going for me here.
Yeah, I like the shoes.
And these they call them fancy pants.
Fancy pants. That's what they call them.